What, in your opinion, makes a great conference?
Well, I think at the end of the day, you've got to make it worth people's while coming. I mean, that sounds very basic, but at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that we're competing for is time. Why should I give up an hour, 2 hours, a whole day coming to your conference? Why? Why don't I just stay in my office? I'm busy like anything. If I go to your conference, I'm going to be under even more pressure. Maybe I have to work late and not see my kids and my wife. Why should I give up my time? So there has to be a deal. And the deal is, you're going to add value to my life as a person, or as an employee, or as a leader.
Who is doing a great job out there?
Of the professional conferences, I mean, I think a lot of business associations, I don't want to name names, but I think business associations tend to do very well because they have this regular event that they must deliver on. They take it really seriously, but they've got a really good customer base. They have a membership base that they are in touch with, so they're in
So they know who they're talking
So they know the topics. They take a professional attitude to the whole thing, and it's an extension of the service they're already providing. I think it's quite hard for organisations that just turn up and say, oh, I've got this great idea, we'll do a conference on this topic, and they don't really have a relationship with their customers. They have to market to the world to get their people. It's a really tricky thing. I mean, you guys do it very well, but you're going out to an audience where you don't actually have necessarily a massive close communications.
Yeah, the relationship is crucial.
Yeah. So if you don't have the benefit of that, then you have to try even harder to be clear about what the conference is going to achieve, who's going to be there, and what you're going to get out of it. So again, this deal that has to be done in terms of this is going to be worth your while, it's that people want to hear new things that's going to equip them, and they want to be amongst people like themselves so that the networking is valuable.
So the curatorship with speakers as well as audience is to be taken seriously.
Yes, and I think, making sure that it's not just the relationship between the audience and the speakers and panelists, it's also the relationship within the audience as well, because people are there to meet other people like them. Now you can scale this everywhere. You can have big conferences like you guys run, or you can bring things down to like a dozen people in the room. There tends to be a trade-off in terms of how much time and how much seniority people will want to. So senior people, the amount of time and the size of the audience is inversely proportional to seniority. So senior people want to be in a room on their own with people like themselves. So your challenge is, in terms of having a large conference, does that mean that you only get junior level people?
Well, World Economic Forum, APEC CEO Summit, there are some few exceptions.
Right. So they are the exception though, because what they've done, not over in 1 year, but over many years, is they've taken it up to be that must attend, that everybody, and that everybody wants to be there.
I heard that you can't buy your ticket into TED Talk.
It's very hard. No, it is really very rigorous.
You have to pre-qualify yourself and pay for it.
Yeah. So, I think obviously there's the whole franchise business as well, the TEDx. Yeah. So obviously
we're talking about the main TED.
The main TED. I mean, I've had some speakers speak on TED, but the process is very rigorous indeed. But it's one of those things that is kind of a make or break for a lot of people. It suddenly catapults you, if you can achieve it, catapults you into stardom.
But they don't take any chances. Whoever that stand on that stage would be world class.
And it's it is quite tough to do to get your thoughts together and do something powerful in 18 minutes. It's like sometimes it's it's harder to do something shorter than it is to do something longer. If you're used to giving a 40-minute presentation and all of a sudden you've got to do it in less than half the time, what do you do? The first 18 minutes or the last 18 minutes? You have to redesign the whole thing. It's quite difficult to write a short story.
And you're writing?
Not really. Much more communicative. Well, I did write a book, but I sat down to write my book. I just sat down for a month
That's it.
And I wrote 75,000 words in 30 days.
Wow.
So it was about 2 or 3 hours a day, early in the morning, before I went to work.
It's very disciplined.
It was very much about taking the knowledge that I had, but having it very well ordered. So the art is, if you're writing a book, is to plan the book. The art of having a good conference is to plan it, right? It all comes back to that. Once you do that, then all you need to do is dump your thoughts into those
It will go well.
and then the hard work starts about finessing it. So the most important thing is to organize yourself into what you know and what you need to write, but the time is taken in terms of finessing it to make sure that the stories come through and the values there.
So, final 2 question.
Okay.
What has your career in the Inside Bureau taught you as a person?
Well, what has the Inside Bureau taught me?
Yeah. And what do you think you would like to be written as your legacy?
It's really important to me to do something that matters. I've always kind of felt that way. I'm not in business just to make money. Yes, you have to make money. You have to pay the bills, and you have to, it is a measure of success. But the greatest reward that I get is when someone says, as they just wrote to me today, "This guy was fantastic. This was spot on. Thank you for making this introduction. Our clients got so much out of this." To know that you are the catalyst to actually help and further people's thinking. And a lot of the time we're working in a world that is becoming more and more challenging because of disruption in one way or the other, whether it's political, whether it's economic, whether it's technology. The world is being turned upside down, and we have to be ready to face those challenges. So anything that we can do that inspires new thinking, some fresh ideas, helps people take the massive information and intelligence there is and distill it into ways that people can understand and then use is a remarkable thing. And to see the results of what you do is quite gratifying. So that would be, what's in it for me. My why is I get to work with incredible people. I put them in front of the best companies in the world, and then see the results of what happens when you put those two together.
I'm just curious, how come your face is not on your website in terms of being one of the speakers? Because I have such a great time learning from you, and flawless delivery, my friend.
Well, I've always considered it. My job is to make things happen. I'm the art of the deal.
Do you speak?
No, I don't speak. I have actually moderated and chaired conferences.
You don't enjoy doing so? You don't, you make all this happen. There's no temptation. There's so much temptation for the spotlight, for getting your voice heard, for delivering your thoughts.
So, I see my job as being the professional that makes this happen. I'm not sure. I have things to contribute in terms of the world of events and marketing and the speaking world. Yeah, sure. I can deliver some insights and some
very valuable.
I still think that the most powerful thing that I can do is just make good stuff happen.
This is such a great lesson in humility and in focus. Knowing what you want.
Yeah, and one of the things when I set up my own business, because I used to be part of a big brand company, not a very big company, but The Economist is well known, well established around the world, and then I struck out on my own to do what I thought sounded like a good idea at the time.
Yep.
And of course, when you start out, you're full of energy and passion and very optimistic. 12 years later, now fast forward 12 years, you think perhaps, well, maybe this is getting a bit, too much, I've done this for too long, what else can I do? Dissatisfaction hasn't set in. I'm still as keen on the work that we do today.
I'm so impressed because you are constantly changing and improving. I mean, prior to this, I did a bit of my homework checking out your website, and it's refreshed.
Yeah.
You know, more different people. You know, the final question, right? Where do you see Inside Bureau going? Are you going into doing your own conference as well, or is it, or are you going deeper into more subjects that you're delivering? What's your ambition, or what's your vision for it?
I think my ambition is to keep growing the brand globally. I see it as there's no reason why we should be restricted to any particular region, although Asia is us, if you like. You know, we are the strongest of any in this part of the world where we were born. Yes, it seems obvious that we could branch out to do other things, but sometimes in this world the main thing is to keep the main thing, right? Except where I think we could do some clever stuff is to start partnering with organisations that have different capabilities and competencies rather than try and reinvent it all ourselves. What we do really well is on the content side of events and briefings for companies. Organising and marketing events is not an area that we necessarily have to specialise in. And I think that partnering with people to do that type of thing is probably the way to expand. But for the moment, I feel like I'm sitting on a mountain of gold, because how many companies out there want to create superior relationships with their customers? How many organisations need to make some tough decisions about their future? How many companies out there want to make their people better at what they do and raise performance? Well, they all do. This is
there's always a business for you.
So there's no shortage of business if you can find it and if you're equipped to make the magic happen.
Well, all the best to making the magic happen for Inside Bureau.
Thank you very much indeed. Pleasure to see you.
Thank you.